Welcome back, nerds. Fino here with a guide for NA's Valentine's event. For those of you not familiar, Valentine's events are all about point ladders. The first two weren't, but early FGO was the Wild West in terms of event design, so don't worry about them. The idea is that you work your way up, accumulating love points to get prizes like command codes, gold foes, summoning tickets, skill materials, and crystallized lores. Moreover, you get chocolates that you can give to your servants for fully voiced cutscenes and reward craft essences. You can keep them as mementos of your bond, or feed them to Black Grail to capitalize on their massive CE experience. If it makes you feel better, you can always get them again next year. You have your two classic chocolates. The star-shaped one gives a random Valentine from whichever pool you picked from, male or female. The heart-shaped one lets you pick any servant you want. But this year, we have another set. These are super lock-on chocolates, and not only do they let you pick whoever you want, but that servant also gets a 50% attack and 30% bond bonus for the duration of the event. You get one for the male side and one for the female side, and while you may want to use them on your favorite, you may want to hold off. We'll get back to this in just a minute. If you have older Valentines, I believe the non-MASH ones give a point bonus, so you should run them until you can fill out your party. Just remember that you can't get duplicates from this year or unlock the voiced cutscenes until you get rid of them. Old MASH? Irreplaceable. Keep those in your second archive. Old non-MASH? Eat them. These Valentines are really just a stopgap until you can get enough copies of the shop CE, White Garden, which gives a more substantial increase to point drops. It also has starting charge as one of its effects, so you can incorporate that into your setups. That said, it has a mixed stat line, so don't expect it to really stand the test of time once the event's over. The command code rewards are pretty decent. The Moon Goddess in Love gives you anti-mail damage, Holy Shroud of Lovers heals on hit and removes a defense debuff, and the Aconite Witch's Command Seal removes an attack and defense buff if you put it on an arts card. Not bad. I'll note that Angry Man and Karen get a bond bonus during this event. If you haven't gotten to bond 10 on Angre yet, he has an interlude locked behind that requirement. He also buffs Karen's damage by triggering her passive, so if you're running her anyway, using the two together takes advantage of that synergy. If you want to learn about how that works, the last video I uploaded was a servant guide for Karen. Also on the subject of Kotomine the Younger, her Devil Karen outfit is obtainable in this event shop. Now let's get to the trickiest part of Bitter Valentines, the daily shadow quests. Each one of these lasts for a single day, and you get love points and QP based on how many enemies you defeat. Now you may have noticed something in the first 2 days worth. Sorry for being late, by the way. Had to make some time management choices and the event guide drew the short straw. But yeah, there are like 27 enemies in each fight, which is more than 3 Noble Phantasms worth. To get around this, these battles are treated as continuous encounters. As soon as an enemy on screen is defeated, another will immediately come in to replace it. This also means that your enemies will get a full turn of their own attacks even if you wipe the screen 3 consecutive times. However, you can take advantage of this to get charge back from being hit, and it can make a decisive difference. And you need that edge because you only have 3 turns to kill as many enemies as you can. At the end of that 3rd turn, you get kicked out with the rewards for whatever you were able to finish off. Now you shouldn't feel pressured to go for a full 27 clear. That's mostly an exercise in how stacked your account is, but the same principles for a full clear can help you go deep and get that extra bit of value. So incorporate the elements that you can and make innovations where you need. Now the core strategy that I've seen floating around is to combine Chen Gong and a party charge refunder like Da Vinci Rider to give yourself a very high probability of having both of their NPs up every turn. Because Chen Gong kills the servant in slot 1, you can run them as the first part of your NP chain and preferably pick ones with batteries and party buffs to snowball. Paracelsus, Helena Castor, that sort of thing. Then you fill out the lineup with battery farmers that counterclass whatever node you're on. If you have K-scopes, then you can be way more aggressive with your backliners and run options that spread more potent buffs onto Gong and Da Vinci. But yeah, on turns 1 and 2, you have your NP order be your disposable farmer, Chen Gong, and then Da Vinci to get as much charge onto Gong as possible. On the final turn, you put Gong last to give him the biggest overcharge damage bonus. Now there are a few complications with this technique. The first is that your Gong and Da Vinci need to do serious work to plow through all these enemies. You can fix this to an extent by taking a strong Da Vinci off your friends list. Also, remember those super lock-on chocolates that give damage bonuses? This is where you can really use them to your advantage and deal with the larger health bars that come up towards the end of these nodes. Chen Gong is obviously a very tempting target, but I will warn you. I had an ungrailed Chen Gong on my main account, and he just barely couldn't take out the final BB on the 2nd day's node. So just be aware you may have to get extra damage on him via party buffs, craft essences, and even grails to make full clears feasible. Then again, 26 out of 27 kills still translates to a very substantial gain in resources, so it's not the kind of thing you should sweat all too much. Hypothetically, you could use the Shadow Quest specific Mystic Code skill to get an edge. It consumes an auto hole to put a ton of debuffs on your selected enemy. However, you can't apply these mid-chain, so I found these a lot less useful than they were probably intended. The final enemy is going to have the biggest health bar after all, and they won't be on the field for you to target. The second big problem is that Chen Gong and Da Vinci Rider have bad matchups against riders and assassins respectively, and both do less damage against rulers, so you'll need alternative strategies for those 3 days. If you can't run this system, I'd recommend servants that can NP multiple times with minimal assistance like a Scope Nitocris, or ones that remove themselves from your frontline like a Rosh. The Plug Suit Mystic Code is also invaluable for its party swap skill, so be sure to run that. Finally, we come to the challenge quest. This pits you against vanilla Orion and a set of demon boars. When the boars die, they buff Orion's crit chance and crit damage, so you should be ready to endure some serious damage if you can't mitigate it. The buffs are unremovable, by the way. Initially, Orion begins the fight with charm immunity and damage resistance against female enemies. On first break, however, Orion turns into a giant mecha boar, loses those initial buffs, and charges up every regular boar, including ones in the backline. They also gain a usable skill that gives them a multi-hit evade against male enemies. Because of this, you have to choose between doing way less damage in phase 1 with a female attacker, or risking the evade in phase 2 with a male attacker. What I ended up doing was running a male attacker with Invuln Pierce. You can pick one that has it in their kit, run Sweet Crystallize your Craft Essence, or even bring along Calamity Jane to donate that effect. On second break, Borion gets a 5-hit invuln against Divine Servants and an on-hit buff that grants them additional attack every time they swing your party. Supposedly, they can do an AoE charm and apply various debuffs, though I personally don't have any footage of this. If you run a male attacker, you're on the clock. Borion's Noble Phantasm will purge your male servants of all buffs, though it will also cleanse debuffs from any female servants, something you can exploit if you slog through phase 1 the hard way. But suffice to say, the male route is a face race and you should pull out all the stops. On death, the big boar gives a nasty set of buffs to the remaining boars. Invuln Pierce increased damage and effectively doubled health, so they absolutely will put up a fight and you should be ready to parry their NPs. Oh yeah, because so many of the buffs and debuffs in this fight are gender-based, you can actually use unknown gender servants to get an edge and bypass the mechanics that slow things down. In particular, there are 3 unknown gender lancers in the form of Romulus Quirinus, Canis, and Enkidu. However, Romulus and Canis are divine, so you'll need a way for them to deal with the Invuln. Aside from the Lancers, you could also go with Demon King Nobunaga or Taira no Kagekyo as alternative main attackers. With all that said, good luck and thanks for watching. Like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more, and come watch me at twitch.tv/Finotaisen where I stream every weekend, 3 PM Pacific time, Friday through Sunday. Gonna be rolling for Karen and maybe the JP Valentine servant too. I'll also be posting some Shadow Quest teams to my other YouTube channel, so give that a look if you want some ideas. You can get to it via the currently linked video. See you there.